July, whatever. So it's something that we now have to figure out, okay? So, and I understand you're looking for some sort of certainty that we don't have to constantly revisit it. But what if, just to throw it on the table, it's once a year, whatever, in January, it's determined, everybody agrees the hourly rate is $110 this year. And then that's what gets billed for this year. And then, next January, it turns out it's $112. So then for that year, or it's $106, whatever the number is, so that we actually, while the calculation is tied to the rate you're suggesting, we actually put a number in here that just gets adjusted annually. So we have an understanding, and from accounting purposes and a whole bunch of other issues, it makes it easier for us to just manage through the process.
So I agree with all of that, and that's why it was done this way. So the hypothetical that you brought up to begin with won't be an issue because it is based on that fixed number of top patrolman pay. Where Mike was talking about before about all the different add-ins, we're not using that. So you're going just by the contract number that's already in writing. It's a fixed number, it's not going to change. So even if he retires, it doesn't matter. That number that we're using is in writing. So we all know what it is, we all know what the fix is. So again, that becomes not an issue because we're using the standard number. As for putting it in print, every time you put that in print, technically you're going to have a meeting on it and then it has to be voted on. And again, we're still dealing with the same hoops and jump throughs. Whereas if it's just the writing and the writing's not changing, then it stays the same. Now, what we do to cover the issue with making it known and everything else, Jeannie, the one who does our billing, will have it known. So that number is always going to be known to her. I can make it known to you before the end of the year. It'll be known to the entities. I always send an email out to all of them before the start of the year if there's a change in our overtime rate. We're not looking either because we don't think it should be a thing where we're 110 this year, we go to 112. That's not how we like to do it. Normally we wait until like the next $5 increment. One, it makes billing easier, it makes mental math easier, and there's not always a need to have a change every year. I think that's a little bit much. So we normally wait 3, 4, 5 years, and then we'll make that jump to the next number that we feel based on, again, talking with our peers and where they're at. So I wouldn't want to constantly keep tweaking the number. And the number is something known. It could be made known to you guys. And like I said, it's already made known to the entities anyway, every time it's changed. So it's not like it's some mystical, well, it's worded like this. What's it mean? There is a number. It's made public. It's not kept hidden. The only thing that you don't have to do then is constantly vote to change the number because it's in writing.
So
Mayor?
what is the council think of that? Who had their hand up?
Yes.
Lauren does.
Go ahead.
Mayor.
Go ahead.
Oh,
I'm sorry, I didn't see the Councilwoman Dayton. Go ahead, please. Go ahead, Lauren, go ahead.
I know, I'm sorry for this hybrid. It's a hard format. Brandon is right. The whole point of the ordinance is not to have to decide every January. So I understand your point, but what we want it to be based off of is the existing contract that governs, the 4 years or, whatever contract going forward. The rate will be established by whatever the step guide is established at. It takes the obligation off the council to have to say yes every year and get into a dispute with the PBA. And that's the whole point of the ordinance. So that was just addressing your point, but I have a couple questions for the PBA, if you don't mind me turning it back to them. So is there a step, Brandon, that's at the $95 level right now? And if so, where is that in the guide? What level is that?
Again, it's based on math because it has to be broken down by the amount of hours we work and then multiplied by time and a half. If I had a guess, since top pay puts us at 110, I'd say walk 2 steps backwards. So step 10 would probably put you at 95.
And then there's a step 11 in between. And do you know what that would
There's
put
an
you
11
at?
and a 12.
The 12 would be the 110.
11 and 12.
What would 11 be?
110 is top pay. That's after your 12th top step.
Okay. And do you know what 11 would become?
I do not. If we go with the numbers in between, we're falling back into the same issue. The only number that's guaranteed to change through negotiations every year is your top step number. Because if negotiations break down and we opt not to, or I shouldn't say we opt, If the borough opts to not give the guys in step an increase, then we're frozen at a number. That's not something we're looking to do. We're also not looking to increase our overtime rate for road jobs every year. The PBA just wants the right, which it has forever until this has become an issue, to set their own rate. That's all I'm looking for back. Now, if we put it on a step other than top step, we no longer have the right to negotiate our own rate. It's incumbent upon getting a raise for the guys in step. Hence, we are back in the exact same situation if we should not get those raises.
All right, so.
So I have another question. Sorry, was somebody commenting on that point?
No, we're waiting for you to ask your question.
Okay, sorry. Brandon, I'm behind you on the big screen. If I'm just saying, I'm looking at the back of you. My
It's
question
more my
is-
ear. If I look at you, my big ears are gonna be to the side. So I'm trying
That's
to
okay.
get this hearing. That's why I keep pointing my ear towards you.
That's okay. I know that last year we were working through some of the logistics through our finance office. Because when the utility jobs come up, we as the borough pay first and then we get reimbursed. Do you know if all of that has been worked through and you know the status?
I think that's more a question for you guys than me.
Is Susan on the
is that a
line?
question for you? I couldn't hear it.
This is a Susan question.
Susan, you want to step up to give?
Is that mic plugged in?
Right. No, you're not. There's another microphone here.
We do get reimbursed, but the companies get paid for escrow. No, I would rather, Brandon, I do have a question for you. The overtime rate does include longevity, doesn't it?
No, not the way it's designed.
Not
That's
the way
what
you're gonna
I
say,
phrased it as top senior patrolman, so it wouldn't. So it's just that top step. That's always the one we go by. Whatever the top step is in our contract, it's that fixed number.
okay, so when I looked at it, because I saw, I was looking at it from base pay,
And then you add in longevity.
longevity,
No,
and then getting the overtime rate
That's
for
too
the
much.
top patrolman, so I
Yes.
just want to make sure.
Yep.
Okay,
All right, so I have we done, Susan?
unless anybody has a question.
Well,
for me.
I have a question.
I didn't get
So-
my answer though. I'm sorry.
In terms
What
of-
did Susan say?
Oh, maybe I misunderstood, sorry, Lauren.
You did.
No, that's okay. Susan, we're okay now with this rate coming through in escrow for the utilities, right? No issues. Right.
So there's sometimes a lag at the end of the year for money to come back in, but I already spoke to the chief, and we're gonna be up more on top of that. But there is one concern, and that is the internal road program. We spent about $50,000 internally in the borough on that. So would it be something that you would maybe keep at that level, or would that also be something that you would want to increase?
this is exactly what I brought up before, where if you start allowing this, it becomes, well, why does that get this? Why? Well, because they're the borough, they get that. If I get that it's in the town, but at the same time, it's budgeted as well. So, and the additional benefit for you guys for the town is, let's be honest, you have control with the chief. So if you guys are saying, well, how's a way that we could save a little bit of money? The issue becomes, okay, well, 3 guys will suffice there instead of 4. The chief is ultimately one that dictates how many officers it takes to deem a road safe. So if really money and budget becomes the issue, then you tell the chief, we're a little bit over this year. I think like maybe instead of 4, you do 3. That's just something for you guys. But again, allowing stipulations in the ordinance is not, I don't think, beneficial, because once you start changing it, people want to know, why are they getting benefits and not this? Right now, the school is very plain and simple for me. They're the kids. They're the ones who get it. They are the ones that we give the discount to. Everyone else pays the same.
So I think going forward, when we do our budget, we should do an allocation if we're gonna do this for internal road job, because it does eat into the overtime that the
Yeah.
chief allocates.
Right, understood. I agree 100%. And
Yeah.
on top of it, it's a budget item that you guys should factor in along with. So not just the paving, but, well, security for the paving. Ask them, because they're gonna have an idea too. They do it long enough where, how many guys do you think it deems to be safe on a road? They're like, well, for this road, like East Clinton, you're gonna want 2 on each side. A road that is a dead end street, 1, the chief will be able to help you, let you know how much you should be allocating money for it as well, so.
Okay. Were you done, Susan?
I'm done.
Okay,
Thank
stay
you,
at the
Susan.
mic, Susan, though. Please stay here. So I have a question for the council. Is everybody on board with the concept of tying the pay to the top senior patrol? In other words, what the number is? For example,
Yes.
the number right now is 110. Is everyone on board with that? And then the second part of my question is, we probably have some work to do, I think, administratively, of how it says it in here, but it's coming to the same net result in terms of the dollars.
What
What
was
is
the
the
second
council?
thing you said? Be
Right,
like
so we-
worded correctly or clearer?
In other words, my question is everyone okay with the amount of money we're talking about? And the only issue to be resolved is administratively, how we write it in the ordinance. And that we can go back and forth with offline. The key here, though, is everyone okay with the way it's calculated? And
Not
whether
yet.
we have to look at it once a year or once every 3 years, we'll have to work that detail out.
Yeah, once
There.
this is set, you don't have to look at it at all. It's
But that's
based off
not
the
my question,
contract.
because I think that's what everyone is held up with a little bit here. Am I reading it wrong?
Wait, no,
You're asking a lot of questions.
it's based off the contract.
Okay, so let me then ask a different question. Is the council okay with doing it this way exactly?
No,
Yes.
you need to be
Yeah.
more specific.
Pardon me?
That's too
Come on.
generic. I still am not understanding why the senior patrolman is the only one that becomes non-negotiable. Can someone explain that one to me again?
Want me to field it?
Go ahead.
So it's based on the negotiations for the years. So for example, let's use this year because we're in a contract year. We're going to be negotiating for the future. I don't know what that number is going to be. It's going to be something that we're going to have to work out with when we sit down with Jimmy and your wants and our wants when we come to an agreement, right? So let's go hypothetically with 4 years again, since that's what we normally aim for, okay? So from 22 to 26. Now, as a means of a middle ground, the town council may say, people in step are not getting raises. We're not looking to increase it. We can't based on budgetary, restrictions. So if that's the case, and you don't give guys in step an increase, and like you're seemingly hoping to do, I'm inferring, if we go with a step 10 or a step 11, those are guys in step. They're not getting an increase based on negotiations. That step doesn't go any further. So for the next 4 years, that means the overtime rate is locked in place. Now, if we use the top step, raises normally go to the guys in top step, even if it's something as small as 0.5% or a single percent. That's the step that continues to increase over time. So that number will always change. That's why if we tie the overtime rate to the top step, it continues to change. And again, to be clear, the PBA does not wish for the overtime rate to change yearly, merely to have the option to do so if the members seem fit. Again, it puts the onus back on the PBA instead of a written ordinance, because we are the union.
Mayor,
Let
it's
me-
Wendy.
let
Can
me
I just
rephrase my
say
question.
something on that?
Oh, Julie, go ahead, please.
No, Wendy. It's your
Wendy, I'm
attorney.
sorry, Wendy.
I just have a little bit of a problem with setting it as, or saying in the ordinance that it's going to be set to a certain rate. And then my feeling on that is that that takes away the discretion from the PBA to not raise it to be in accordance with that amount. I understand that you have the $5 rounding off, and that's okay, but waiting several years if the salary has changed really should not be done, because then the PBA won't be in accordance with the ordinance. And I don't think this is bad for you guys. I'm just saying you can't hold back. You're going to have to increase it if this is how the ordinance is written.
Okay, I'm gonna make a suggestion after. So if the goal is to tie the rate to the top senior patrolman overtime rate for the year, okay? And we don't want to keep voting on this every year, why don't we simply pass an ordinance that provides for that? And then at the first of the year, whatever day it is, the CFO certifies that the rate is 110
That's the
or
point.
the
Yeah,
rate's 115, and that's what gets paid for that year.
That's the point.
right? Okay,
Yep.
but that.
That's
so
not the
let me just
point.
Let me just finish my thought then. Pardon me?
Brandon,
That
is
goes
that the
against
point?
That's, we are 100% fine with that.
That's
Clearly
the-
phrasing it as based on senior patrolman, so that is accomplished, and then putting it in writing, and it's stamped at the number that we come up with.
And we pick a date and time annually so that you have certainty for the year, and it's not changing because two guys retire, and if we set it on a particular day, January 15th, that's what it is till the next January 15th. So go ahead, Susan.
So Brandon, I don't know if I'm recalling this properly. I thought, if my memory serves me right, that the senior patrolman, the top patrolman's overtime rate is base plus longevity.
Right.
That's
So
what the
you're getting
contract-
hung up on numbers then. Then don't use that phrase then. Stop letting the phrase convolute the meaning of this message.
Okay,
If you want to phrase it as top step, I'm fine with that. That way,
Okay.
whatever wording you're comfortable with,
top step
It's
is
fine.
fine.
okay.
Is it-
There you go.
You're talking
So-
about base.
That's right. I'm not looking to get all that added stuff.
Okay,
It's too
base-
much. That's
It's
too
the
much.
number
There's
in
a
the
difference
salary
in
guide.
that.
That's right.
The
Number
number
salary.
in the salary guide that you see.
Okay, one at a time, please, one at a time.
Correct.
There is a difference.
I have,
Yes.
Okay, the base pay is tied into the step guide. And
Correct.
that's the terminology that you use. Fine with that.
Okay.
I still have a question.
After the second.
Okay, Lauren, go ahead.
Okay. The way our police contract and step guide work, so let's say you're an officer on the fourth step. We know the next year you are automatically going to the fifth step, which is an internal step guide raise. No, am I correct, Susan? You have that raise, whether you call it a raise, but you have an increase in base salary under the step guide at every level from probationary through step 12. Is that right? Your base salary will go up according to the step guide. So we can pick
Right, so that
any
when-
step,
when-
we can pick any step on the step guide, and we know that there will be a base salary increase according to whatever percentage we've negotiated in the step guide. So the argument that we would have negotiations that would then change that, or that we have to pick the senior patrolman, is not correct. Susan, can you help me
so
understand this?
Fine,
Am I wrong or here?
Talking about two different things.
Well. it
You
would-
are wrong, yes.
Yeah.
But why? Because if longevity is not
No,
being
I
included.
think I would rather.
Wait, one
Wait,
at a
Susan,
time.
I can't hear
Wait,
you. You
Susan,
have to go
answer the
closer to
question,
the
please.
mic. I can't hear you. Gotta go closer to the
Well-
mic. I can't hear.
Okay. I think what's concerning, Brandon, is the guide does change. And when it does change, you're going to keep moving that. And the percentages, you could, like this year, you're getting step plus 2%. I think what might be better is if, for the governing body, maybe for yourselves, that everybody agrees to a number and then increases it by a certain percentage.
Now we're going backwards.
I know, but it's a little bit, you know,
The point of
we
all
won't
this
know what the
is,
future holds for the
which
for the
is,
borough.
don't know what the future holds. Just like I don't know what the future holds for me based on how negotiations have gone recently. So again, the point of this change, more than monetary and anything else, was to put the onus back on the PBA. The union has control of their rates. When a plumber union comes in, you don't dictate how much a plumber's union weighs. We wanted rights for our own union to dictate what we get paid. So the top step allows us to achieve that. And we can govern ourselves with what it is. And then, like the mayor said, you can put it in writing. So if the stipulation is simply putting it in writing that it's top step and that's what it is, and then every year a number is associated with that, I'm fine with that. But my big argument here is giving the PBA the right to control their overtime again, more than that monetary number.
And
Again,
I just,
can-
Lauren, you're confusing what a step increment is and what an officer's salary increment is from year to year in a contract. For an officer to go up from step 4 to 5, regardless of whether or not those steps increased by a certain percentage that was negotiated, is irrelevant to what we're talking about here. In any negotiation outside of a 0% raise, any raise, whether it's 1, 2, 3%, inevitably will go to the top step. It always has. The continued negotiation is whether or not the steps that follow below that top step are in turn going to get a 1 or 2% raise. And for example, we have a 4-year contract that we're in the 4th year of. The first 2 years of this 4-year contract, if you looked at any of the steps in that guide, outside of the top step, that last step, they remained unchanged. Yes, an officer advanced one to the next, and he got a salary increase. That's not the argument here. But those numbers on the step guide remained unchanged for years 2019 and 2020. Then in years 21 and 22, they received 2% raises at those numbers, whereas the top step in that salary guide changed at 2% for each of the 4 years. It continued to move upward. That has been the standard in negotiation more recently with us, and that's why we're tying it into top step, because that's the guaranteed increase should there be an increase.
So respectfully, I'm not confusing it. I know exactly what I'm advocating for here, because what I'm saying is it shouldn't be tied to top step. What I'm saying is that every year, you guys shouldn't go from 95 to 110 to 120 to 125 to 135 every year. The rate of overtime should
It
be,
won't jump that high.
well, we're right now jumping up, a significant amount. And again, I think it's more conservative and fairer to our taxpayers on some of these things, especially for the Board of Ed and for nonprofits, which are, some of which are in town, our synagogues, our churches, our, things, these are the people paying for it. I see a huge increase here based off of the top senior patrolman, where a more conservative increase could be off a different level, which, yes, has a base salary increase. And I understand it might be a 0 or it might be 2% on top of that, which then might change the rate every January. But it is, again, many of our taxpayers and our tax-paying businesses that are relying on these services. And so I'm trying to find a more conservative approach than just saying the most expensive rate that we could possibly have in the contract.
If I can.
Go ahead, please.
All right, so to address from the beginning about the significant jump, it wouldn't have been a significant jump if we were able to handle this in the appropriate amount of time, but we got stayed, times have continued forward, the jump becomes more significant because of where we're at now. Plus, add to the frustrations to the guys that they feel cheated out of the right to set their own overtime rate, so they're a little less inclined to vote for a lower number when I go to them and say, hey, what number should we go for? If I come to you guys and it's more fluid, they're a lot more amicable to saying, okay, yeah, let's just make it this. When they feel cheated, obviously they're going to say, well, they made us wait a significant amount of time, so why don't we go for 110? So that's that. That's why there's a jump when it could have been a smaller if we handled it in the appropriate amount of time. As for the businesses, you brought that up last time as well. You've had a significant amount of time to give me any reason or businesses, and you also used the word rely on. That's incorrect. A hired police officer is hired when it is extra. So if a family has a bar mitzvah and they're expecting 200 people in their backyard and they would like us there, that's not relying on. That is, someone wants added security, we are hired. Your taxpayers, that's laughable as well, because PSE&G, United Water, Suez, whatever you want to call them, work throughout the state of New Jersey. Us increasing our rates here in Tenafly is like saying a drop in the bucket has caused the whole thing to overflow. Taxpayers everywhere take on the cost of, water, electricity, gas. I pay taxes as well, right? So it doesn't have to do with, well, Tenafly is increasing our thing, we're really whacking the taxpayers over the head. Not the case. They're a billion-dollar industry. They rake in billions of dollars in revenue a year. They are more than capable of handling the requests we're asking for without it coming out with a $4 increase to your taxpayers. That's not how it works. So these complaints that were brought up in the past that are now being brought up again are not valid. If you want to talk about synagogues and churches, I'm the one who talks to them. I'm the one who goes there and sits down face to face and says, this is what it's going to be. I know you have X amount of festivals. These are what we are normally hired for. Are you comfortable with this? It's going to be an extra increase of whatever based on the officers and the amount of hours we worked. That's what the expected rate is going to be increased. I'm the one who has these conversations. So I know well what they're comfortable with paying.
Okay, so,
So, wait, I just want to respond to something very quickly. Two things. Brandon, I'm not trying to be antagonistic here. I appreciate what you're trying to do. The delay wasn't because the council was dragging its feet, it's because the world shut down in a pandemic and we didn't want to raise rates on anybody during an economic downturn. So that's one. Number two, your synagogue example is a perfect example of why I'm raising it. For example, my synagogue is here in Tenafly. My family received an additional security bill to compensate for hiring local police during our high holy days or religious ceremonies. I now have congregation receiving additional fees here within Tenafly and the surrounding communities to cover security fees. And I understand that, but it's not like there was just extra money laying around in that organization. And I think many of our nonprofits may be in positions similar to that. So I'm raising that as an example of why I'm asking if a different rate can be used. So I'd like to hear from other council people
Okay.
and
Okay, so why don't we, does anyone want to call this question?
Yeah,
So
I'd
effective-
like to call the question.
So effectively, what we have on the table is off-duty employment at the rate of the top senior patrolman to be set annually by the CFO, to be acknowledged by the CFO that the rate for this year is the following, and that all has to get written in here so that we have certainty what the number is. Okay? And that sounds like that would be the compromise where everyone would get what they wanted. It doesn't have to come back for a vote. Financially, we would know what we're doing. The PBA would understand how the number is being created.
so Mayor,
Have a
before we
motion
call
to
the
go
question,
forward with that? Yes, go ahead. I'm sorry.
before we call the question, I'd like to separate out I-1, which is the Tenafly Board of Education fee from the rest of the ordinance.
Well, why?
Because I do not agree that the Board of
I
Ed
mean,
should
it's all-
incur
it's all-
any additional costs. And neither did the rest of the council last time we discussed this.
Say that one more time. What was the question?
The Board of Ed
So you
fees.
want to
We
change,
did
you want
not,
your,
we as a body last time said we weren't willing to have that raised. Now, I'd like to have a separate vote on that with the
Council members,
six
what
of
do
us
you-
who are here today.
I'll keep it in.
Jeff, what do you want to do?
Just real quickly,
Yes, sir.
you were talking before that you negotiate with the Board of Ed.
Yes, I speak with them.
You speak with them, sorry. He used the word negotiate before, blame him. When that happened, can you discuss with the Board of Ed any number? Why are we putting a number in here if you're discussing with the Board of Ed?
Again, why is it in ordinance? It's always so your butt's covered as to why I'm getting paid a certain number. So
So what if you negotiate with the Board of Ed $90 and we're saying 95?
correct, it could go that way as well, but the ordinance protects you, protects the borough from you're supposed to be paying us at least 90, 95, you know what I mean? So they can't back out and then say, well, we didn't, there's always a protection for they can't walk away and not pay a money. That's why it's in writing. Why do I go and speak with them? Because it's our union, it's our entity that negotiates that. So now granted, like I said before.
Discuss, you mean not
This is
negotiate.
discussed, yes. Now, I haven't had a chance in quite some time because of the hold up. So I said it wouldn't be for this year. I'd have to go speak with him. It may be something that they're not comfortable with, and I'd have to come back with you and say, hey, you know what? We agreed on $90. But 95 was the anticipated amount. It's been the anticipated amount. That's what I'm going with. But I would have to have the talk again with them.
And this is an ordinance, this would require two.
But we have to, and some, Susan or Wendy, you can correct me, we have to have an ordinance. We have to be, in order for us to pay them, we have to be authorized to collect the revenue and
Yeah.
then pay the expense.
All right, why don't you get the number from the Board of Ed and come back with that number? Then we're putting in something and then
That's
we're
fine.
doing something real, not.
I'm fine leaving that one as long as we finally get the other one
So that's
addressed.
why we can leave that one
Okay.
out and talk about the
Yeah.
rest.
I've had too many questions and still don't understand why we have to be the ones doing this if you're talking to the Board of Ed. So I'm just gonna abstain from all of this and trust my council, but I still don't understand why we're. But you guys.
Go ahead, Vanu.
So I've seen in other ordinances where basically say that for school assignments or for things with, relating to the Board of Ed, it says set by the agreement between the Board of Education and borough or, you know, that, you just basically lay out that it's the rate set by an agreement, as opposed to putting in an actual amount in the ordinance.
I'm having a hard time hearing through anything, and I don't know what the question was that was asked.
My point is, you know, for things related to the Board of Ed, having the agreement referenced in our ordinance may be the better way to go, instead of putting in a dollar amount, so that there's this constant round robin.
Are you saying that you should clarify in the ordinance to refer to an agreement that we have on the side with the Board of Education?
Correct.
Okay, well, that, I guess that's something for you guys to discuss.
Yeah,
Does it have
well,
to be-
Okay, so
I think it has to be this way because
If we-
they're our employees.
say that again, Dan?
I think it's written this way because they fall under, it's a contract with us because they're borough employees. I believe it's written this way for that purpose.
Right, we have to know what the dollars are in order
Yeah,
to
I
pay
believe
them.
it's written that way on
Right.
purpose.
Okay, so the question on the table is revised. You're going to come back to us with a number with the Board of Ed based on the discussion that was just had, okay? Not the 95, whatever it may wind up being. We're going to agree with the top senior patrolman overtime rate, set it annually, acknowledged by the CFO, so we don't have to vote on it. And clean up this language to make all that work. Correct. Correct. And that's, so do I have a motion on that?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Omar, do I need to call the roll? Why don't you call the roll?
Mayor, this is our work session. We're not taking a vote. It's just a matter of
Yeah,
discussion.
you're right, we're not
The
calling the roll.
work
So
session.
it's just,
It's a consensus,
okay,
actually.
do I have a consensus from everyone? Yes?
Aye.
No? Dan, what do you think?
Aye.
Yes? Jeff? Lauren?
For 2, 3, and 4.
I mean, I still would like to see how. the
Lauren, can
finance-
you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me?
What did she say? Yeah, yes or no?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'd still like to see how the money works out at other levels. Yes to the concept of the ordinance.
So is that a yes or a no?
Yes to the concept of an ordinance, but
Calculator.
not. Can you hear me?
Mayor, it would be a no
Yeah,
as
well,
to the way
listen.
it's written now.
No, that's,
The way she's answering, it's no, right? Okay.
no.
so-
That's not right. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Mayor, can you
Lauren-
hear me?
Lauren-
Yes, we can hear you.
Is it
Fine,
yes or
That's
no,
not
or
what I'm
to-
saying.
The question is it okay the way it's written now with the added in of the number from the Board of Ed?
And the edits we made.
I'm sorry, I'm not seeing what edits. Are we saying the edits in red?
Correct.
I would like to see a breakdown of the different levels of patrolmen and how it would work.
All right, so Laura, I have to take that as a no, because that's not the question on the floor, all right?
Well, why is it a question on the floor if it's
All
still
right,
being
Julie?
discussed?
You have enough people to
I
bring
know,
to a
so
vote. The next, it's done.
that's
Let's end
what
this
we're doing. That's
conversation.
what
We're
we're
not
doing.
voting on it.
Julie,
Next. Thank
This
you very
is-
much for coming.
This is
Sorry
to
about
give
Julie.
guidance on a consensus to bring this ordinance to the next meeting, essentially, once the number comes in.
yes,
This is-
correct.
Right, so we're not taking a vote as to whether you all are approving it, but to give guidance as to what the language is. And I'm sorry, Mayor, it's just, I think, I'm saying it more, for those of us on the virtual that have more trouble hearing. So I'm only reiterating what you said to the virtual world.
So
Okay,
what did Julie say?
I think you have a consensus.
say?
I'm okay for it to proceed. Yeah.
So did she say yes or no?
What is Julie?
Yes,
Does she said yes. Okay, Vanu,
I'm a no.
you're, okay, Councilor Michaels?
There's no yes or no. We have the ordinance. You're gonna bring it forward and then we'll vote.
So do you agree on that?
I told you I'm abstaining from it. So you guys-
Okay, so then we have 3 yeses, 2 noes, and 1 abstention. So, okay, so let's put this, let's draft the ordinance and put it on the agenda for the next meeting with all the
Mayor.
corrections that we talked about.
Mayor. I'm
Someone
not
asking me a question?
Yes.
Yeah.
Lauren's talking. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear
I
me?
can't hear what she's saying at all.
You gotta move off this.
Yeah.
Wendy, you can hear me.
Okay.
now.
That's the whole idea of Robert's rules. Spend an hour and a half on something that we're not even voting
Okay.
on tonight.
Next topic. All right, food insecurity. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming here
Thank you,
tonight.
guys. Can I? Yes, appreciate it. Can I just ask that Jimmy email whatever is revised to, so I can see it before the meeting and I'll show up again?
Yeah, we'll have, you guys will have internal conversations with Jimmy and Susan to make it all
Perfect.
before it comes before the council.
Outstanding.
Okay.
Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
Thank you both for your time.
Thank you.
Can you not hear me in the
Food
council
insecurity, next
chambers?
topic.
Can you hear me?
Pardon me?
Can you hear Julie and I in the
Yes.
virtual world? Julie, you could hear both of us? Okay.
Yes. Okay. All right, food insecurity.
This I'm gonna table. This is my thing. I'm gonna table this for now.
You're gonna table this issue for now. Okay. All right. The next item on the agenda is the downtown redevelopment. Susan, would you mind coming back up here again? We're talking about downtown redevelopment. So the topic with downtown, and Councilman Michaels, feel free to jump in whenever you want, is we'd like to propose moving this forward to the next steps. Susan and I had some conversations, and Susan, maybe you want to go into some detail about if the council so elects and we move this forward, how we can use the American Rescue Plan money for this.
Okay, so there's some guidance that recently came out, and what we would have to do is we'll make a capital plan. One of those items will be the downtown study that was done, all the projects that are within it. So I've been reviewing, not in its entirety, because they keep changing the guidance, some of the American Rescue Plan, and some of the things on it that we could put in would be like outdoor patios and things like that. So what we could do is, so that all the governing body members see, I'm going to compile the entire capital plan, and then we're going to extrapolate what could be used for the American Rescue Plan money, which would include whatever items we can use for the downtown. And the governing body can make a decision on where you want to use those funds. Will be deferred as a capital plan for later date. The items that will wait until May or June to adopt, and what we'll put in the temporary fund.
So now, the American Rescue Plan, as I understand it, can operate outside of the normal capital budget.
We have the funds, they're in a reserve. Right now, we had the first allotment of funds, $756,000. We'll be getting another allotment this year. I have to do reporting in April. So I would like to know so that I can report to the state exactly what we're going to be doing with these funds, so they don't have nothing on.
But to his point, that money is not tied to. the
It's not
budget.
tied in, no.
It's not tied to the budget side. In other words,
No.
if the
no,
council
it's-
chooses it, they can use it when they choose to choose it.
Right, we might have to bring it in as a revenue,
Right.
a revenue item offset by an expense item, but that's
Correct.
my thing. Okay, it's there, we have the money.
So it's like open space. We can use it tomorrow. We read 2 passages.
On Thursday, the auditor's coming in, I have to figure out the mechanics of the accounting, but we don't have to wait to adopt the budget, we could use
Correct.
the money last year.
Okay. So I'm going to propose and put a summary together for the council about suggesting how we can use 250,000 of this American Rescue Fund towards the downtown development plan. Okay, and bring it to the council, the next council meeting, to start getting approvals to move forward on this and make some decisions. Anybody have questions about that, or
And how much money did we get?
Susan?
That's $756,000.
Times 2.
Well, we're getting another lot this year,
Right.
56.
756. So we're getting,
1.5 something.
1.5 million.
Right, so you're proposing a quarter.
I'm proposing 250,000 out of the 1.5 million. Okay, and then we'll have some details to show the council and, with questions and start moving forward.
So may I make a suggestion?
Dan, speak up into the
Sorry,
mic.
for budget time, you know how you give us the capital budget plan on that long piece of paper?
Yes,
Highlight the ones that qualify.
I didn't hear you.
Highlight the projects that
Oh, yeah,
qualify.
I'm going to be segregated.
Oh, you're gonna segregate completely?
Yeah,
Okay, okay,
I'm going to put the whole capital plan together.
okay,
I'm gonna look at the study that was done. I'm going to put in those items. I'm gonna put what out of that study should be in the operating budget, what should be in the capital plan,
okay,
what the department heads have given me.
right, right.
And I'm gonna compile it and put it into 3 different scenarios. I might pull it off, put it on a spreadsheet, but I want to do the total budget. Because I think that that's good.
Right,
And then the mayor will have his proposal.
right,
And maybe when I go through this, we might see that there's other items that can come out of,
That's what I
when we're
mean.
putting money
Highlight
for-
those.
from the downtown, from
Perfect.
anything, but I think it's good if you see the whole picture.
right, but when we see the whole
And I
picture,
should do that soon, I'm waiting for.
Good.
right, but to your point, to build off that, like that whole list of stuff, let's say, I'm gonna make this up, lighting for the basketball court, if that qualifies, just highlight it. So we know it's not part of the downtown plan, but it also is part of our normal plan, but just so happens to qualify for it as well.
I'm going to mark and designate every item that is applicable to
Thank
the
you.
American Rescue.
Perfect. All right,
Yes,
let's
that's
stay on,
perfect.
let's stay on topic here. Stay right there, Susan. Yes, Lauren, go ahead.
Susan, do you know if we're allowed to use this money to apply for grants?
These are
We're
grants.
allowed to use the money to apply for grants.
Okay, one at a time.
No, I'm just repeating.
Like a grant, I have to bring it in to the budget as a revenue item and offset it by the expenses.
Right, of course.
So, no,
Any other questions from the council on this topic? Okay, thank you. So, the next item, thank you, Susan. Maybe you shouldn't walk all the way to the back, just sit right there. The next item is the personnel manual, which is being discussed in, a topic in closed session. And then the next item after that is mask signage.
Mayor,
Jimmy,
on
did you
that
put
one?
this one on? Go ahead, Lauren.
So I
Go ahead,
had
Lauren.
sent, can you hear me? I had sent some mock-ups
Yes.
of imaging to Jimmy, but these are not final mock-ups because I need to know what information should go on them and what language. So I'm able to make imaging. Let me know what language the council wants. So these can be, we should not vote on these. These are drafts here.
Correct.
If I could just say
Okay, so-
something
so
to
Jim-
that. I just
Okay, so
remembered,
we've got,
sorry, this is Julie. Can I say real quick? I just remembered.
who's
Dan-
speaking? Who's
This
speaking
is-
there?
This is Julie.
Go ahead, Julie. Just, we can't hear you.
Oh, okay. No, I remember Dan saying something about the CDC, and following that guidance too. So I just wanted to remind about that. Maybe that's something we could use too.
I think we're gonna do that with our sign, Julie, from what I remember. Like, we're gonna give the stores that CDC image, right?
So is this the one we're going with?
This is not the one we're going with. This is a draft. What do you guys as a council want to say on this sign?
Who has opinions about this? I mean, I'm fine with it. Anybody else?
There's two different
Yes, yes.
ones, Mayor.
Yeah? This one here, the one you're showing on the screen. No, the one that states the resolution number on the bottom.
That's the
They
one I
can
like.
both
I think
stay the
I think
resolution.
that's the one we should go with. What?
They both can state the
Number
resolution.
2.
These can be edited to both state the resolution number.
So what I'm saying is the one that has the resolution, for purposes of clarity, the one that has the resolution is the one I like and I think we should go with. The one that's on the screen right now.
With less verbiage.
It's much more official looking. Which is it?
Yes, left
Oh.
verbiage, yes, we all agree.
We're all on the same page then with that one. Okay, wonderful.
So
Thank you.
Jimmy, I'll send you a final
Um,
on that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your work on this, Councilwoman Dayton.
Thank you, Lauren.
I was just playing around with it.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, COVID protocols for recreation sports.
So I put this on, but I think
put
it was
this on the
discussed
agenda,
last
Laura?
night. I put this on the agenda, but it was discussed last night at the recreation meeting, so I'd like to hear what the recreation board said.
Yeah, so I could quickly go as best I can. So yes, there was a meeting last night, the rec board. The rec board made the recommendation that that they wanted to return to sports. If you just remember for everybody, about a couple weeks ago, they did a hiatus. A number of sports were, actually all of the winter sports were represented there, basketball and wrestling. The recommendation from the rec board and without putting words, I believe and the rec director agreed that they were going to start sports again. Obviously, if you're on the sidelines, you need to be wearing masks. They wanted to reduce the number of spectators, but they did want to, everyone agreed on the rec board unanimously that everyone wanted to get their kids back into sports. Full stop.
Okay, any other questions on that topic?
Adam, can I just ask a follow-up? Adam, was there a discussion about
Sure.
what to do if our rec sports are in the school buildings?
If they're in the what?
In the school building.
Well, the schools, I don't know if there was there a discussion about that?
Not that in
Well,
particular.
The schools have, in addition to our own protocols, the schools have a protocol that all spectators have to wear their masks. Everyone who's in there other than the players while they're playing have to have their masks on. So whenever we're in a school building, not only do we have to follow our own protocols, but we have to follow Board of Ed protocols, rightfully so.
So Alpine School, just for
Yes.
example, for basketball, Alpine has banned spectators. I just wanted to know if there was any follow-up or change on that. We use that for basketball.
It's been, I can't answer the question whether our Board of Ed has, Adam?
Yeah, I don't know about the Board of Ed, but I know that, again, both sports were there and the recommendation was definitely want the kids back. If that means reduce spectators, and they were good with that.
Hi, Lauren, it's Jamie here. I'm
Okay.
just kind of listening in on the conversation. The
Great.
Board of Ed is suggesting that we do 2 spectators per
Jamie Cannon.
participant. I'm sorry, it's Jamie Cannon. So the school board, I'm working directly with Joe Carollo, the athletic director. He's stating that we have 2 spectators per participant is the maximum. And you have to walk into the gym, tell the gym monitor which player you're there to see, and then that's the maximum spectators.
Thank you for that.
Okay.
That's great.
Thank you,
I'm
Thank you,
thrilled
Jamie.
that our
You're welcome.
community can play sports. That's great.
Thank you. Have a good night, everyone.
Okay. Thank you, Jamie. Okay, let's move on. Jimmy, to the administrator's report, please.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Sorry I wasn't able to provide the report in writing, but I do have a brief couple updates that did come just very recently over this past week. On the 7th, just a few days ago, we held a pre-construction meeting for the library facade work. That work is anticipated to begin in April. Now, switching to Roosevelt Monument, we have asked the contractors that we would like to award the contracts to submit their pay-to-play documents. So once we receive those, we anticipate awarding the contract or having the contract for consideration for award for each of the vendors at the next 1 to 2 meetings, either the next one, the next meeting or 2. So depending on when we get the paperwork, has to be reviewed. We also have to hold it for a certain amount of days before award. So that's anticipating to be coming to the council for consideration in the next 2 meetings. I'm also happy to report that the contractor that works for the Department of Transportation in New Jersey Transit has contacted the borough directly to begin the plans to repair the crossings, railroad crossings at River Edge and J Street. Right now, we're only discussing detours. There's no dates, anticipated dates for construction. I've asked them, they've only contacted us yesterday. So we're planning a preliminary meeting with the police department and public works just for detour plans. And the Department of Transportation and New Jersey Transit will dictate the construction schedule from there. Of course, I'll keep the council and public updated as this would cause a hard closure at that crossing. So more information to come as it becomes available, but I did want to report on that.
Jimmy, have we
Yes.
told the schools that yet?
Yes, Laura.
No, only because they'll be aware of the detour plans that get approved, but at this point, there's no dates that are involved. It's just they want to put the plan in place, so when the New Jersey Transit and Department of Transportation give us the green light to move forward, everything's in place, but of course, they would be made aware and involved every step of the way. But at this point, it's just internal in the school, and the police department's aware of course, with the to be mindful of the school detours, hours of operations, and so on and so forth. So absolutely, but of course, at the appropriate time, they'll be involved and made aware. But at this point, again, there's no dates, unfortunately. But we were going to put all the necessary planning in place. So once they transit in New Jersey Transit Department of Transportation allow us to move forward, allows the contractor to move forward, we could move forward quickly on that work.
Should put that on the joint use next meeting. Just to
Absolutely.
give a heads up on that. Okay.
Absolutely, will do. And the final item is the company that we're looking to potentially contract with to provide the borough with PCR COVID-19 testing. Wendy and I reviewed their contract. There was a couple items we wanted them to revise. They had sent a revised agreement this afternoon to me, which I forwarded to Wendy. So that's to be reviewed. So we're hopeful that we can move quick on this. This is we wanted to revise their term of contract to be a little bit more advantageous and favorable for the borough with a better termination clause. So once we review that, I'll keep the council abreast of the final outcome. And that's it, Mayor.
Okay, thank you very much,
Thank
Jim.
you.
All right, it is time for public comment.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, please.
Before you get going, and I'd love your counsel on the best way to do it. So as everybody knows, we get the buildings report over the past 60 days, 90 days. Many of us have seen a number of new stores coming in, a number of them being variety of smoke shops and other places. What I'd love to ask your counsel on is, without creating additional work for the buildings director, obviously just for everybody, there's not, as long as it's in the right zone, there's nothing necessarily that we could do about it. And I certainly don't want to slow down any progress, but I would love to see, and maybe we could take it offline, a way to think about it more. I've said this before to the council, if we're not proactive on things, things happen to us. Everyone will be happy to know if I'm reading this right. A new nail salon is coming in. That's good to know because we don't have enough of those. So I don't know if, maybe some of us could take it offline, a better way to know what's coming on, maybe to try to be more proactive on things. I know with some of the downtown work, we will be more proactive. I just feel like I read this every month and I scratch my head as to, what we're doing and what we're seeing. And I feel like it's sort of happening to me versus at least getting ahead of it. So maybe if we could just take it offline again, even today, new things, another smoke shop, another nail salon. I don't know what we can do about it, but I'd love to see if we could get this stuff in advance and just know what's coming before we just get.
Okay, so why don't we take it offline? And I'm going to suggest that you and Jimmy have a conversation to get clarity on what you feel is an appropriate time and the appropriate information.
Yeah.
And then after the two of you kind of get to the bottom of that, and then Jimmy can come back to the council and make the suggestions that XYZ, this is what we.
No,
what
that'd be
we do
great.
going
Thank you very
forward.
much.
Okay,
Thank you.
Jimmy, you got that? Was that a yes?
Yes, will do, Mayor. Yeah.
Can I
Okay.
add on to
All right,
that for a
thank you.
second? Jimmy?
Of
So
course, go ahead, Councilwoman.
one of the things we do have in place, which Adam, I think will be very helpful to combine, is we have a vacancy ordinance. So the building department currently has a listing of anything vacant. Maybe we can combine one report vacancy and incoming business, something like that. They'll know when one of those vacancies get filled. That's already being generated. So just throwing that out there.
Yeah, we'll discuss that as
Sure,
well.
as long as, again, I'm sensitive to, I don't want to just create more work. So I'm hoping something that we've already done, we have information like, I don't know what they are. I don't know if Councilman Menon, because I know you represent the zoning board, we approved 3 things earlier. I don't know if we could steal with pride the work that was already done from zoning. I just don't want to create more work. I just would like
Right.
to have the information.
Okay. Thank you. Now it's time for public comment. Audience members
Wait,
wishing.
before, I'm sorry, Mayor.
Pardon me?
I'm
Go
sorry,
ahead.
just, this is a question for Jimmy. Because it's on the engineering report, just more of a comment that we have the open space grant, matching grant for Resco Park walking path. I don't want to end up in the same situation we have in others where we're scrambling to complete it before deadline. So just at some point, if you can let us know what the next steps are, you don't have to do that now, but you know, what the steps are that need to be taken to make that project happen without sweating.
Okay, no problem.
Thank you.
No problem. You're welcome.
All good. Okay. Public comment, audience members wishing to speak will have a 3-minute time limit to address the governing body on items on the committee of the whole agenda. Large groups are asked to have a spokesperson represent them. Are there any members of the governing body out in,
Public.
excuse me, any members of the public, thank you, out there on Zoom that would like to make a comment? Omar, do you see anyone raising their hand or signaling or? I think I see
Christine
one
Evron.
hand.
Hi, thank you. Can you
Cannot hear you,
see? I'm
Chris.
sorry,
Go
the
ahead.
video is not good. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. I just want to point out that.
Name,
Councilman-
we need to know your name, Christine, and that you live on Leroy.
Sorry. Christine Evron, 39 Leroy Street, Tenafly, Chamber of Commerce President. I just want to point out that this concern to micromanage the businesses coming into Tenafly, you have zoning requirements. These are legal businesses. They obviously think that there is a demand in Tenafly for them, or they will go out of business. This is part of what makes Tenafly have such a poor reputation. Just keep that in mind when you keep looking at all these ways to obstruct legal businesses. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. Any other members of the public out there that you see, Omar?
I see no other hands, Mayor.
No other hands, and there's no members of the general public here in Borough Hall. So we're going to close public comment time. Does anyone have questions about the resolutions? Okay. Anyone have questions about the minutes? Does anyone have anything for the good of the order?
Real quickly.
Yes, Councilman Grossman, please.
This is really brief. First of all, I will be talking more about this in my report, but we now have, and every council member got a tour with Elizabeth, Katie Stanton, and Susan B. Anthony, the walking tour. We are talking about at HPC having an event where we are going to officially name the railroad station. I do want council members to think about and perhaps get consensus that the sign may not end up on the station itself. It may be a sign in front of the station because of concerns about historic accuracy of these signs. And so I want to know if it would be okay, and again, this is really for next meeting. That's why I go to the order now. If it makes sense to have something similar to the signs that are by the Roosevelt Monument, you can look at those, which talk about the woman Cautley, who did the landscape architecture and the monument itself. So that's it. Really, just need to know what direction we're going and how it's going to look, because we'll have an official naming ceremony.
So is everyone okay with that discretion to Historic Preservation Group to go in the direction they think most appropriate?
Where do we get the, just, for the sign, where do we get the funding for sign or whatever we're gonna build
Well,
there?
that's got to be something we look at, is the funding. Depending on the cost of sign, it may be something within HPC's budget. They do have some money. I hate to see them use it all on a sign, but they do signs. All the ones you see by Elizabeth Cady Stanhouse and the other historic signs.
Councilman, you have clarity on moving forward?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So we'll
Thank
go
you.
from that. Okay, so again, can I have a motion to adjourn the regular meeting? Motion to adjourn?
So.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We're going to go right into the public meeting. In compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act, PL 1975, Chapter 231, the notice requirements have been satisfied. The meeting dates for the year are confirmed at the annual meeting, are posted on the public bulletin board in the lobby of the Municipal Center, and published in the record within the first 10 days of the new year. Salute to the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, roll call, please, Omar.
Councilmember Dayton,
Here.
Councilmember Grossman,
Here.
Councilmember Menon. Here. Councilmember Michaels,
Present.
Councilmember Dr. O'Connor,
Here.
Councilmember Park. Here. Mayor Zenna.
Here. Could I have a motion to approve the minutes of January 2nd, 2022 recess and January 2nd, 2022 reorg meeting, please?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
Oh, and the January 4th special meeting. We have a second?
Yes, there was the voice vote.
Voice for all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so, time out.
You only have January 2nd.
January, only January 2nd here on the agenda.
Is that on the,
No.
I have
Oh, I
four.
have four.
I
You have four?
Yeah.
Oh, so there was an updated agenda adding January 4? That's, okay.
Yeah, you
All right.
first.
So just for clarity, I'm just going to do this over again so it's nice and clear. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes of January 2nd, 2022 recess meeting, the January 2nd, 2022 reorg meeting, and the January 4th special meeting? All in favor? Oh, can I have a motion?
So moved.
A second.
Second.
All in
Second.
favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that carries. Revisions to the agenda. Wendy? You there?
No revisions, Mayor.
So
No
I'd like
revisions.
to edit that. Oh, pardon me?
I'm not aware of any
Wendy,
revisions.
I want to add that, okay, so I'm bringing one up that I'm hoping we can add tonight, property acquisition for closed session.
That's already on there.
Is it?
Yes.
It's there.
I haven't, okay. All right, thank you. All righty. It's probably the other one, right. All right, public comment time for the regular meeting. Audience members wishing to speak will have a 3-minute time limit to address the governing body. Large groups are asked to have a spokesperson represent them. Omar, do you see any members of the public out there?
I do not, Mayor.
Okay, And there is no one here in Borough Hall, so we are going to close the public comment time. Okay. Consent agenda. Could I have a motion to approve the consent agenda, please?
So moved.
Could I have a second?
Second.
Could I read the roll, please?
Councilmember Dayton,
Yes.
Councilmember Grossman,
Yes.
Councilmember Menon,
Yes.
Councilmember Michaels,
Yes.
Councilmember Dr. O'Connor,
Yes.
Councilmember Park.
Yes.
Thank you. Committee reports, Councilwoman Dayton, we'll start with you tonight.
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me? Can you
Yes.
guys- Okay, Jeff says yes. Okay, the Pride Committee met this week. They would like an update as to whether we will be purchasing a buddy bench now or whether it needs to go into the 2022 budget. I believe we said we had funding for this through the DPW budget, but I have no answer yet on that. Does, Jimmy, are you on? Do you know?
Jimmy?
Bench.
Sorry, I'm here.
That's okay. We're talking about the buddy bench in
Yep.
Highland Park.
Mhm.
To the Pride Committee, I said I'd ask today at the meeting. We wanted to know the status and whether it has to go into the budget or whether we have funding now.
Yeah, so this was requested at some point in 2021. I think there was some discrepancy between fundraising and how much the borough would commit monetary wise. So I just want, it's up to the council now how they would like to approach that. Speaking with the chair of the Pride Committee, was under the impression that it would just be fully funded by the borough. So just a little, if we need to include that in the budget, we can for this year. It was about $2,000 from the vendor that they recommended for the exact bench. So that's something that we could include in the budget if the council wishes to do so.
Do you guys want me to put this on a to be considered for the next meeting?
Sure. We can put it on to be considered for the next meeting, absolutely. Omar, make a note of that, please.
They would
Go
also
ahead,
like
Lauren, continue.
They would also like to ask if June 1st, which is Wednesday, would be okay for the flag raising. And try to have Pride Day celebration on June 11th at 2 p.m.
What day of the week is that?
That's actually a Saturday. We were looking to flip between Saturdays and Sundays, but unfortunately, there's other things on the calendar in June already, one of them being the TF run on June 4th weekend. So we're trying to find a day that we don't conflict with any other town or school events. That would be
Okay,
Saturday.
so you're
June
proposing
11th.
Saturday, June
Yes, so I'd like to
June
check
11th.
on
Everyone
that.
good with that? It sounds like everyone here is good with that, Lauren.
Great. The Pride Committee has been doing incredible advocacy and reach out to all of the Pride groups within Bergen, on the state level, on the county level. We are trying to get ourselves established as a more advocacy group within the groups here that are doing this kind of work. One of the things being considered is a survey of our residents to find out what our needs are in Tenafly's community. And so we are debating what the best way would be to reach residents right now. If anybody is interested in speaking with the Pride Committee or has a need or something they'd like to discuss, please reach out to them. Natalie Kavanaugh is the chair. It's a wonderful, wonderful group that really is looking to address the needs of families, individuals, seniors, anybody here who would like some advocacy or has something to be raised. So that's the Pride Committee. The police is meeting this week. The DPW is meeting this week. Senior Services is meeting tomorrow morning. Two things are happening in Senior Services. One, we are building our website. And I thank Omar for his patience in working with Max Bash, Steve Savas, and myself on building a better website so that families who have residents here who are homebound or have dementia or have more needs than they're capable of can go to our website and have resources at their fingertips. We also, of course, want our own residents to have that as well. And so the second thing happening is we are still looking to build a program called Bridging the Gap between the high school students and our senior community here. We are trying to determine the best way to set that up with privacy, of course, as a consideration for our residents. But again, we were hoping to do leaf removal, snow shoveling, really nice community assistance in that way. And the school is very excited about this idea. We just haven't gotten it underway. The welcoming committee is working with Jamie Cannon and Adam Michael in the downtown group. They would like to make new resident events at the ice skating rink. We're trying to set up the sign up and come up with dates. We are thinking the end of January and into February, possibly 1 or 2 events, so that new residents have a socially safe way to meet each other. And of course, we love having our ice rink here. Thank you, Adam and the downtown committee. I thought that was a great combination of town resources to put together. And the Northern Valley Greenway met this week. We now were advocating for the past few years with Bill Pascrell's office. And of course, now we are going to be working with Josh Gottheimer's office as Tenafly has been redistricted or proposed redistricted. And we still need a Northern Valley Greenway second liaison. So if anybody is interested in assisting this project, please reach out to the mayor or myself or Andrew McCash and let us know. And that's my committee reports.
Okay, thank you, Councilwoman. Councilwoman Dr. O'Connor, would you like to go next, please?
Sure. I actually don't have any committee reports at this time.
Okay. Thank you for that succinct statement. Councilman Michaels, would you like to go, please?
See, now I feel bad speaking because you give credit to Dr. O'Connor. That's not cool. I'll try to be quick. So first, hopefully everyone got their Robert's rules. I hold to my commitments, and I know we spoke about it last time. So Lauren and Julie, I will bring yours over, but I hope our council president leads us in efficient meetings for the year. So hopefully that helps. Second thing is we had our rec board. He even brings his own. That's how professional he is. Rec board met last night. I gave you guys the updates. The biggest conversation was representatives of the winter sports, wrestling, basketball came to get our kids back playing as safely as we can. So I don't need to go into that. Also, some really good things around outdoor football that we're doing and a couple other programs. So special thanks to Jamie and team for doing that, preparing for spring sports, again, as safely as possible. The good news is outdoors, girls softball, guys lacrosse, things like that. They did speak about the ice rink, great attendance to date. Thank you, Councilwoman Dayton with the welcome committee. That's great that they're using it. I heard a couple, some schools, some of the HSAs are asking for some skates as well. I do want to give a shout out to Christine Evron. We had a great idea how to help the businesses. If you guys noticed at the last mayor's message about the ice rink, we're doing a new program now to get people to leave the ice rink and go into town or vice versa. So if you bring a receipt from a downtown business and you have a skate time, you show them the receipt and you actually get a free s'mores kit. So I think that's a great idea that Christine came up with and got improved by Jamie. So huge thank you to the two of them for driving more downtown traffic. Of course, have to bring up, there's a special Sweetheart Skate on February 13th. Obviously, I don't want to, on the record, let everyone know that I was going to ask the mayor to the Sweetheart Skate.
That's
So
very nice of you.
hopefully he's available on February 13th.
I'll make myself available.
There you go. So that's gonna be really awesome. And I know Jamie and team do a great job on bringing special activities to that. Downtown committee, we have our first meeting next Tuesday, the 18th, and then joint use we just scheduled for February 16th. That's what I got there.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Menon, please.
So first, the Chamber of Commerce had a special message for the mayor. Wanted to thank the mayor for his interview in the New York Post and promotion of some of the businesses downtown.
Well, the
New Jersey Monthly.
New Jersey
Sorry,
Monthly.
New Jersey Monthly.
Yes.
And wanted to thank the mayor for those for the plug. And then on the Board of Adjustment, there were 3 applications received and considered at the last meeting. The first one was for a replacement of a screen porch with a large 3-season room and a proposed paver patio. And the hardship there was that the property is a very small property. So anything that gets done will trigger a request for a variance. So, but it was approved to allow for this. There was a second application for in the construction of a new home where there was a steep slope in the front of the house, and where a disturbance of a steep slope of over 25% requires approval, and it was approved, but they instead of making a straight driveway going up the steep slope and disturbing that slope, they with the town engineer, with the zoning board engineer, they found another solution to make it more of like a snake type of a driveway going up, so that it was less of a steep slope going up. And so that was approved as well. And there was a third application for the addition of a 5-foot foyer at the entranceway to a home. And this was a de minimis request, and that was approved as well. So that was it on the zoning board.
All set?
For the community report.
Okay. Thank you, Councilman. Council President Grossman.
All right. The one I really want to talk about again is the walking tour book, the HPC.
Plugging that twice tonight.
I'm plugging it. The HPC met last Thursday. They, first of all, Reno, Denise, and Dave Wall have both retired from HPC, and I am going to recommend that we have some special recognition for David, because he probably was the longest serving volunteer in town at that point. He started before the HPC existed. I think he was assistant borough historian going way back. So it's a big loss. But moving up there in the HPC was Rita Heller, moved up to Class B, Emily Yang to Class C, and a new first alternate, Brendan Lee, has joined the HPC. So very excited about that addition. Karen Noose was reelected chair. She'll have a hard time escaping that position. The old business is the walking tour. There are 2,000 copies of this, I believe the number was. It has been provided to every single council member and the mayor. And it's very exciting that we want to find ways to distribute it. That's key. And so we're going to try and tie that in. The signage at the train station was also discussed, which led to my earlier comments. The other thing is that, and we had to postpone the 19th Amendment 100th anniversary because of COVID. There is a speaker who may be coming into town for a private function. She is an interpreter for Elizabeth Cady Stanton, which means she dresses up like Elizabeth Cady Stanton and does the whole routine. They're bringing her in, so we're going to see if we can work it out that the naming of the train station, times when she's here, so that she can kind of act as Elizabeth's Katie Stanton accepting the naming in her honor. And that's it. That's that report. Real quickly on another report, TVAC has a meeting later this month, but I did meet with the senior members the other day just to kind of have a meet and greet. So we have all met. And that's my report.
Thank you very much. Could I have the book again, please?
Oh, no. Wanted to add something.
Oh, you want to add? Okay, we'll get to that. Let me finish with Dan, and we'll come back to you, okay? All right. Councilman Park?
CAT met last night and they are in full, work mode. They're planning their schedules for all their talks and everything. So no. That's it.
That's it? Okay,
That's it.
thank you, Councilman. Councilman Menon, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, Councilman Grossman just reminded me that I should mention who for the reorg at the board adjustment, that Adam Kaminsky and Alan Citron were reappointed to the board for another term. Linda Korosian was welcomed as second alternate board member, and Joan Toro was moved from second alternate to first alternate board member. Ralph Cho was moved up from first alternate to full board member, replacing Daniel Steinhagen. And then on the assignments, Adam Kaminsky was voted as board chair. Alan Citron was voted in absentia as vice chair. And Joel Friedman was voted in as the second vice chair. Jeff Zen was reappointed as board attorney. David Howells was reappointed as board engineer. And Marisol Lopez was appointed as board secretary with Monica Chalarka as co-board secretary. And with regard to the board secretaries, that's what we voted on as one of the resolutions to give a stipend, split the stipend between the two. So that was all. Just wanted to some bookkeeping.
Okay, thank you, Councilman. All right, moving on to new business. Councilman Park, would you like to make this motion, please?
Sure would.
For the crane operations?
Yes. I move to introduce and pass on first reading ordinance 2201 and set the hearing for January 25th, 2022 at 8 p.m. or as soon thereafter.
Have a second?
Second.
Omar?
Ordinance number 22-01, an ordinance of the Borough of Tenafly, County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, creating a registration certificate requirement to operate a crane within the Borough of Tenafly. Councilmember Dayton,
Yes.
Councilmember Grossman,
Yes, and thank you, Dan.
Councilmember Menon, Councilmember Michaels,
Yes.
Councilmember Dr. O'Connor,
Yes.
Councilmember Park.
Yes.
Thank you, Omar. For my mayor's remarks, I'm going to be extremely brief. I'm just going to follow up from Councilman Menon. So in New Jersey Monthly Magazine, with the issue that came out this month, there's an article that I was, reporter called me that had some very positive comments to say about a very famous new resident of ours. And as the councilman pointed out, I plugged some of our downtown restaurants, which of course are fantastic, and I dine in all the time, and I have the credit card bills to prove it. So if you get a chance to read New Jersey Monthly, pull that up and read the article. It's above the fold, as they say. Okay, so we're going to go into closed session. Counselor, would you like to read the language, please?
Sure, I hope you can hear me. Resolution
We can hear you.
R22-53. At a regular meeting of the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Tenafly, County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, held on January 11th, 2022, the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Tenafly has deemed it necessary to go into closed session to discuss certain matters which are exempted from the public. Be it resolved in compliance with NJSA 10:4-12, the Mayor and Council are going to close session to discuss a personnel matter regarding TVAC and additional matters falling within the attorney-client privilege to the extent that confidentiality is required in order for the attorney to exercise her ethical duties as a lawyer, and those matters are regarding the personnel manual as well as a potential property acquisition. Minutes will be taken of the meeting and released to the public at the time that the matter is resolved.
Could I have it? Thank you. Could I have a motion to go into close, please?
So moved.
Could I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.